What's up, everybody? My name is Sony Marcelin, and I have my latest single titled No More Pain that is out now, streaming on all platforms. And I wanted to take an opportunity to take the time to let you know the story behind the song. So November 10th, 2008, I'm chilling at my crib and I get a phone call from my dad's job, and they informed me that my dad had fallen at work. And so I was like, okay. I'm thinking, maybe he slept on something. At the time, he was working at Disney in the hospitality department, and so I don't have a car at the time. So I hit up my best friend, who's literally my next door neighbor, and I tell him, yo, bring me, if you could take me to the Sand Lake Hospital. And so what I'm expecting to see is, my dad maybe had fell on his back, or he was injured. But to my surprise, as I entered the hospital, I see my dad unconscious, and there's all these wires and tubes on him. And I was like, this is not the type of falling that I expected. My dad is non-responsive, he's unconscious. And so I'm just worried, I'm afraid, and they're rolling him to ICU, which stands for, the intensive care unit. And so I'm just trying to figure out what in the world is going on. And so once the doctor comes in, he informs me that my father has had a stroke, and or at the time I think he said brain aneurysms, and so I didn't really know any medical terms like that. And so he broke it down for me, and he let me know that my father had had a stroke. And so now my mind is going everywhere. And so in that time, I'm trying to speak to my dad, but there's no response. He's unconscious. He's not talking back. And however, at the time, my friend noticed that the left side of his body was moving. And so one of the things I was telling my father, I was like, listen, if you can hear me, move your arm, move something to inform me that you can hear me. And so there was no movement on his right side. But my friend had noticed that on the left side of his body, my father was moving his arm. And so I began to assess, and I see that, he was able to respond using the left side of his body. And so I began to say, hey, if you can hear me, just kind of move your arm as a symbolism of yes. And that's exactly what he began to do. I'm like, okay, like he's still with us, he's still here, and he's able to see, though he's not able to speak. And so, being a man of faith that I am at that time, I began to walk with him through through prayer. And I grew up in church. My family had, it was always imperative for us to go to church every Sunday in the morning. When they would come home from work, I'd have to go at night. So I was a church kid. I grew up. But sometimes it's a difference sometimes between, going to church and living right. And so I just wanted to be sure to ensure that my father was in right standing with God. And so I began to lead him through the sinner's prayer. And I was like, hey, if there's any sin that you need to repent of, if there's anyone that you need to forgive, just move your arm as a symbolism of yes. And he began to move the left side of his body. And I said, if you want to, rededicate your life to Christ, move your arm as a symbolism of yes. And that's what he began to do. And so at that moment, I began to lead my father to the Lord, and that was a great victory that day, Monday. And so I'm having all the faith in the world that my father's going to bounce out of this coma, and he's going to fully recover. And I'm just praying now. I'm calling all of my friends, I'm calling all of my pastors, and I'm letting them know, hey, my father has had a stroke, but I believe God for a miracle, and I believe that God is going to heal my dad. And so I remember the doctors coming in, the nurses coming in, and they basically told me that my father's brain was at a vegetable state, which means that even if he were to get out of this coma, he would not be the person that you know him to be. And so at this moment, I'm 20 years old. I had just turned 20 a few weeks earlier. I'm not trying to hear anything the doctor's saying. I'm not trying to hear anything the nurses are saying.